Let's talk about the visit. Obama is visiting India and the other three countries in the first or second week of November. Uh, why he's not coming to Pakistan? Because people in Pakistan, when you talk about people in DC, when they talk about India, at times, they forget about Pakistan. Because over here, people are like oversensitive. If like a head of state comes to India and fails to visit Pakistan or meet the Pakistani leadership over here, then there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of like debate starts cropping up. There's lots of like confusion over there, and people start talking about all these things that probably Americans have ditched us once again, and they have tilted in the American policies, and they have tilted towards India. So don't you think it was it would have been a good move on the part of Obama administration and Obama to visit Pakistan as well when he was making a visit to India?
Well, not only do we think it's a good idea for the president to visit Pakistan, the president has committed that next year he will visit Pakistan. I think it's important that the people of Pakistan recognize the United States' commitment to the region as a whole, and this will be the president's, I believe, second trip to South Asia, and he will make another trip to South Asia next year. So it's important that people not see this in zero-sum terms. The United States has a close relationship with India. That does not come at the expense of Pakistan. The United States has a close relationship with Pakistan and wants to make it even stronger, and that will not come at the expense of India. And obviously our presence in Afghanistan to try to stabilize that country is important to Pakistan and to India and to other countries in the region. So we are committed to Pakistan. The Secretary herself has made 2 trips to Pakistan already in only 18 months. The President will be visiting Pakistan next year. I think that signals how important that the United States places in building and sustaining a close relationship with Pakistan.
Okay, so this time when Obama visits India, will he take up the Kashmir issue, or will he tell the Indian authorities to sort out Kashmir issue? Can the Americans play a role in this like they are playing a role in Middle East?
Well, we are playing a role in the Middle East because the Palestinians and the Israelis have both asked us to play a role in the peace process. I can't predict what role Kashmir will play, whether it will come up in the President's discussions with India. It might or it might not. Our policy is clear. This is a very important issue. It's an important issue to Pakistan. It's an important issue to India, and it must be resolved through dialogue between the 2 countries. The fact is that we have not been asked by both countries to play any particular role, but in our discussions that we have with Pakistani officials and Indian officials, we stress to both sides that ultimately both countries have to come together, have high-level dialogue, and ultimately resolve this issue through that dialogue.
Okay, but the Pakistanis have no objection in this. If Americans mediate, Pakistanis have no issue with it. But the Indians have issue with it. They consider it as a domestic issue. The Indian consider Kashmir as a domestic issue. But when we saw a campaign, the election campaign was going on in America, Obama was all out saying that the Kashmir issue should be sorted out. And don't you think there's a U-turn on this policy by the Americans? Even day before yesterday, Holbrooke stated that we will not intervene in the Kashmir issue.
Well, I think what the President reflected was what we do recognize, that to have peace and stability in the region that can be sustained for a long time, you have to solve the Kashmir problem. But can the Kashmir problem be resolved through outside mediation? Well, to get to that point, you have to have both parties agree to that mediation. And the fact is that both parties do not agree to that mediation. But, again, take the Middle East peace process as a corollary. We are encouraging both the Israelis and the Palestinians to negotiate, but ultimately an agreement will not come because it's imposed.
Yeah, Crowley, there's a statement made by Gorbachev, and he had suggested that the US is tasting blood and defeat what we, Russians, he's talking about himself, Russians, had tasted. He suggested that US does not want another Vietnam and should get out of Afghanistan as soon as possible. What do you have to say about this one?
Well, the strategy that we are pursuing with the Afghan government, I think there's an important distinction there. We have a strategy that we share with the Afghan government as opposed to the Soviet Union that was trying to impose its own government on the Afghan people. Our strategy involves the current reliance on significant international military forces. Of course, that's another distinction. It's not just the United States in Afghanistan. It's many countries working collaboratively because the future of Afghanistan is of significant interest to the rest of the world. But over time, we are committed to transition from a strategy that is focused on significant military action to a strategy that is focused on significant civilian action. Ultimately, the solution in Afghanistan is a political one while growing both the legal Afghan economy and increasing interaction and trade between Afghanistan and its neighboring countries. And that's early this year. We had a significant milestone with an agreement on transit trade between Afghanistan and Pakistan that allows trade to increase within the region. That's going to have an enormous influence over the long term. So the strategy that we are following in Afghanistan is dramatically different than the strategy that the Soviet Union followed when it invaded Afghanistan in the late 70s.
Okay. So there are rumors that you're bringing Taliban on board on the political front. Is it true?
Well, as part of our strategy, we are committed to support the Afghan government with the process of political reconciliation. And this is an Afghan-led process. To the extent that we have security forces on the ground, we are working to support the Afghan government in whatever meetings and whatever process it decides to undertake. And we certainly believe and understand that the Afghan-led political process needs the support of neighboring countries if this is going to succeed. But this is an Afghan-led process, but we believe that ultimately political reconciliation between the Afghan government and those entities that are currently fighting the Afghan government will be essential to achieve peace and security in Afghanistan.